going to start with the breaking news, which is Elon Musk buying Twitter for $44 billion. It's slightly more than he had initially asked for. It was 43 something billion a few weeks ago. And it looked like this whole deal was dead. I mean, this whole thing was dead in the water just a few days ago. It seemed like this was not going to happen, but quite an about face.
But there was news over the weekend that Twitter and Elon Musk had one of those long phone calls, you know, like you do with your junior high boyfriend, up until midnight, they say, hacking out the details. So most of us were operating this morning under the assumption that it was a foregone conclusion. And then in the mid-afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, Twitter shut down the stock trade in anticipation of big news. And then I will give you the exact time, 2:50 Eastern Time, the press release went out that Twitter indeed announced that it has entered into a definitive agreement to be acquired by an entity wholly owned by Elon Musk. It's interesting, it mentions Elon Musk, the person, not an entity, right? And then it has it of course then goes on to talk about the details. This price represents a 38% premium to Twitter's stock price as of April 1st, which was the latest trading day before Musk disclosed his 9%. Now, some interesting quotes here. Now, obviously, we understand the motivation of Elon Musk for wanting this, or what he has publicly said. He says he thinks of this as a town hall. He thinks that Twitter needs to have an open algorithm so that people understand how tweets are either promoted or demoted. He understands that in order to increase trust, he needs to open up the acceptable spectrum of speech. We knew this already. Twitter's CEO has said, CEO speak in a press release, but the chairman of the board, Brett Taylor, said Twitter's board conducted a thoughtful and comprehensive process to the proposal with a deliberate focus on value, certainty, and financing. The proposed transaction will deliver a substantial cash premium, and we believe it the best path forward for Twitter's stockholders. I think that's interesting because they're not saying that they think this is not stakeholder capitalism where they think it's best for everybody. This is specifically the board has a fiduciary. We are going to honor this fiduciary because if they didn't, Twitter stock would tank. There's no telling it would ever rebound, and they would have a lawsuit on their hands.
Agarwal, who's Twitter's CEO, said Twitter has a purpose and a relevance that impacts the entire world. Deeply proud of our teams and inspired by the work that has never been more important. Upon Elon Musk buying Twitter for $44 billion. Here's the stock price. It's been hovering around this all day. It kind of gapped up at the open, but it's been pretty much hovering around $51.50 so even after it was unhalted, it was halted during the news. It's back on. It's just still been hovering around this $51, which is less than when he acquired shares. Remember, so when Elon got his shares a few weeks ago, it was higher. And it's spiked up to around $54, $55, $56 or so. So this is not. This is actually lower than what his share price was.
Right. But he had said in his recent appearance at a TED Talk that this is not about making money. I don't know how this guy sleeps at night because I watch all the sort of vitriolic things being said about him on Twitter, and I wouldn't be able to take it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy. So let's kind of go through that because this is where, I mean, you have a lot of liberals right now. I mean, I don't say just liberals. I mean, like, I'm going to use the term because this is an actual term, which is shit libs. These are liberals who pretend.
Sounds like something your dad just made up.
I know it does, doesn't it? But it actually is a term. I mean, and
like
I think
something
the term,
your dad would have called people while driving.
Right. Well, and I even tweet. Oh, sorry. My glasses. I'm not used to holding my glasses all. I keep getting caught up in
cords. You need some bifocals or maybe one of those chains that go around
should I get one of those like chains that old women wear like while they're playing canasta?
Sure.
So just if you need some understanding of like what a shit lib is, I just tweeted this like a little while ago here. Shit lib are self-serving rich elite politicians who are subscribers of neoliberal economics and governance. The support for more deregulation for big business and corporations, but more regulation and increased taxes for smaller businesses and workers. They support outsourcing illegal immigrant labor, lower wages, more free trade, and privatization when it benefits them. They often lie about their support of egalitarian and socially liberal ideas, but never really enact them.
Okay, but you are pigeonholing people who are feeling some kind of vitriol to this news. And I think it's not just this contingency of people. It's all manner of people.
The last sentence here, they are often side with the big tech and media corporations and receive donations from them regularly.
Okay, but there are more than shit libs who feel strongly about this. And some people are just... I don't understand it really. I was reading for instance, Rolling Stone this morning called him. So here's this was in anticipation of the news saying, oh, what could go wrong, right? This is their news about it. In the first paragraph, it calls him a notorious Twitter troll, which I'm not sure I would agree with that.
Musk, the Tesla founder and a notorious Twitter troll, acquired 9.2%.
I mean, do we take that for face value? I'm not sure. I think that is debatable, right? And then if you go on, it says that... so their conclusion is that Twitter is about to get a lot more toxic. So I think it's worth discussing whether or not Twitter is indeed about to get more toxic, because I think my opinion is that Twitter is toxic when it already is suppressing stories and punishing people for things that later on turn out to be true. And that has been a dangerous precedent. For instance, the Hunter Biden story, which got several people kicked off the platform, which later turned out to be true, and those people never received an apology or a re-platforming.
Right. So earlier when I tweeted this about, oh my God, they're going to freak out about this. They're freaking out that people are going to get free speech available to them from now on. Someone said to me, well, what aren't you able to say now? Can you be specific that you feel like you might be allowed to say later? And
vaccines don't prevent the spread.
Yeah, vaccines. Don't say that on YouTube. We'll get deplatformed from YouTube. You got to watch yourself on these platforms. You never know where you're going to be censored or redacted. Can you name some, Philip? Jump in here. I mean, things you can't say on Twitter that you get blocked for. I'm sharing stories. Yeah, the Hunter Biden laptop story. You'll get blocked for that.
That a biological woman exists.
Yeah, you can't say that. You'll get ripped apart for saying that. You
get ripped apart, but you get deplatformed for talking about the birth assigned gender of a person.
I tweeted certain things where they blocked me around videos from Ukraine, true stories from Ukraine that you can't share and share publicly.
Yeah, I mean, Google even came right out and sent a letter to all of the YouTube creators, basically saying you cannot mention anything about Ukrainians attacking Ukrainians or you will be deplatformed. So I mean,
yes.
It's the modern version. We need George Carlin to come back from the dead and update his the 7 things you can't say on television.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, the list was pretty endless. And so there's a lot of questions. We talked about this earlier, but like, will President Trump be invited back? Will we get a sense of, I like this earlier. David Rubin tweeted this earlier today, and I thought it was poignant if I can find it here. If Elon Musk really is about to have control of Twitter, he will soon learn who killed the Hunter Biden story, how they decided who to ban, what level shadow banning really exists, if employees read our DMs, and much more. And so there's a lot he will learn as CEO about this.
But he will no longer have to tell us, which is interesting, because if he takes it private, he doesn't have to disclose these kind of things in the way that the company currently has to.
But they don't disclose it now.
They don't.
Do we know if they shadow ban? I mean,
no, but there's this sort of, there's the one sort. Okay, we'll use them. I'll use your term because I don't have an alternative. The shit libs who are worried about their control. Slipping through their fingers. But there's also, I like to call this bucket the whiny babies, who are either, like the New York Times had a piece this morning saying Twitter employees are really pouty about the fact that leadership has not told them what to expect. Well, I'm sorry, babies, but that's not how this works. The board has a fiduciary to keep this quiet, because if it was leaked that they were considering it and then it fell through, again, these things affect stock prices. So people are kind of whining like, they really shouldn't tell us what to expect. We need to know what's going on. No, you are an employee, right? That is your social contract that you signed on the dotted line for. You collect a paycheck. They don't have it. It's not their responsibility to tell you what they're considering until it's been done. Now that it's a done deal, it is their responsibility to tell you what to expect. Another sort of subset in this
You jumped me. I was about to jump in with a
You want
thought.
more whiny babies?
Well, I mean, Aaron Rupar, who tweeted earlier, thoughts go out to the people I know who are working for Twitter because yikes. And to which, you have to wonder, like, well, how are these people who are working for Twitter suffering? I'm just like, how are they suffering by
Well, sure. You could suffer because you don't like Elon Musk. You can suffer because you're worried that the people you kicked off Twitter you felt good about and you want that to stay in place. But that's a simple, like, self-referencing way to be. It is not for the collective good. So at least you should own that, right? But then there's also this one. I sent it to you, but I don't.
What's that?
It's not in I just saw it right before we went to air.
Okay.
And I sent it to Clayton. Can you pull up your screen and pull up that tweet?
Yes.
Okay, this is not a verified account, but I've seen this
But isn't that funny,
repeated
though?
over and over again.
Isn't that funny? Like, oh, you're saying what's not a verified account? Elon Musk?
This response to this dude,
Mr. Bo
right?
Ziffer?
Mr. Bo Ziffer is saying, imagine spending $45 billion on Twitter instead of actually improving people's lives or funding schools or doing climate change. Okay, so you don't think the person who sells the most electronic vehicles in the world is supporting climate change? That's interesting. But also, like, it's disgusting that he's choosing what to do with his wealth. So then this type of whiny baby is not a capitalist. This is a socialist, right? Saying you should not be able to make this amount of money and then choose what to do with it.
Right.
Right? So that kind of whiny baby, I also just want to, like, put them in the corner. Do you have any other whiny babies you want to talk about?
No, but I think, there's plenty of whiny babies. I mean, I showed you, and the list is endless today. If you read through Twitter, and I mean, there's
maybe whiny babies is better than shit libs. It just sounds a little bit more professional.
I think the thing with shit libs, the reason I like shit libs so much is because it encapsulates the people that like think that Twitter should only be for their benefit or should only be for their benefit of viewpoint, or their type of speech should be the thing that you see on Twitter.
Yes.
Not free speech, not speech that might challenge your worldview or might challenge this war in Ukraine, by the way. Shit libs love those Twitter accounts that have changed their avatar to Ukrainian flag, and that's the sentiment that pervades the Twitter headquarters. Well, not anymore. So it's going to be interesting. I know David Rubin also said, hey, he should fire all the Twitter employees out of California, out of Silicon Valley, move the company to Florida, set up their video platform on Rumble so that they can't be like taken down, and just start there. I'm like, I like that idea.
Okay.
Go for it. I'm
here for whatever. I didn't make that $45 million, or $1 billion, so it's not for me to decide what to do with it. This is a capitalistic game we're playing. If you don't like it, you have choices.
So let's take the other side of this, which is the Caitlin Johnstone side of this, which is, when will people stop feeling that they need to lift up these tech oligarchs, right? How many people, and I like this tweet, she says, how many times are people going to fall for this shtick? This is a billionaire about to shtick it to the man and save us all shtick. Stick it to the man. So how many times are we going to fall for that? Which is a good question, right?
Well, but Elon Musk has already played this avatar. He disrupted vehicle sales model in the world, yet still does not get invited to the White House when the White House decides to talk about initiatives for electric vehicles. Right.
So maybe this is maybe the one guy who has walk the walk.
And he continues to play the avatar. He will not dance, no matter how much they want him to, right? And so, okay, he is, yes, I don't think any one billionaire is going to save us. But it's interesting, Carol Roth, who we've had on the show, she talked about how the I'm leaving Twitter is the new I'm moving to Canada if Trump, right? No, you're not. So shut up. You're not doing either of those things. Now, many of you here are saying in the chat, I'm not on Twitter. I never have been. Great, right? But it will continue. This will set a precedence that other social networks will have to compete with. That's what's interesting. So if you're here, you're on YouTube, you're on Rumble, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitch. And so what this platform does will affect its competitors, and they will either knee-jerk the absolute opposite and crack down on speech more, or they will follow. And that is how this affects all of us.
you should come over to Twitter because we have a Twitter account, by the way. We are at the Redacted INC over on Twitter. So come over and follow us there. We are going to be posting more. So that is our Twitter account. That's the official Twitter account for the show here on Redacted. Thanks to all of you for subscribing to the show. We know many thousands of you are new to the show, so thank you so much for joining us.
Before we go on, though, can we ask Philip what the Reddit crowd is saying? Because he always has his finger on the pulse of that, and it's usually pretty fun. Philip, do you have any...
The Reddit crowd about Twitter?
Yeah.
Actually, because it broke so close to the beginning of the show, I caught a little bit of it, just the hints of it starting to hit popular, but it hasn't quite hit yet. So that's what I'm going to be doing after the show is then going back in.
No
and
fun trolly memes because that's really what it's all for.
Not yet.
I mean, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a mixed bag with Musk on Reddit, so we'll see how everybody feels. I'm more of
he's no Jason Bateman.
Yeah, I'm more of a. It's like sit back and wait and see what he does with it because there's no telling what he's going to do with it. I mean, like for all the stuff he did with like the Shiba coin, and just like a lot of Reddit people lost a bunch of money with him pumping that up and then just sort of abandoning the idea of it. So there's still like you still see like people commenting on how they're waiting for that to come back. And so it's like, I'm more of a, you don't know what he's going to do with it. You just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.